Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How are you guys doing tonight? How are you guys doing tonight? Yes, we have a new intro. We have a new lease on life in America. And everything is great. I apologize for being late, of course. My body is rejecting the idea of being awake at all. It's like, nah, what you should do is probably get some rest. And I'm like, oh God, I keep determining this after I decide to do a show. So that's fun. It's fun. But everything is good. Everything is great. Even when I'm 2 minutes late, I guess. There's my rhyme. There's your poem for the evening. That was 4 years of college right there. Just for you guys. Okay, let's see. There are some chats to get to and all that stuff. I just have to see, YouTube does this cool thing now where when a chat comes in before the show, it lets me know that there was one, but it just removes it from existing. I don't know why. And I have to go find it on a different screen. Really stupid of it. Yes. F's in chat for Rush Limbaugh. Rush is, Rush has died. That is a thing that happened. And, let's see. What is this? Rush is dead. And we will be doing a short, I guess I'll talk about Rush for a little bit. Not much. I'm not going to be out here like I am the expert on Rush Limbaugh. And his legacy today means that I can't do that because I'm not. But I'll tell you a little bit about Rush and some of the things that I guess meant something to me about Rush. Or something. I don't know how to do this. I can see a hair. A loose, stray hair. There! I found you. And then I figured in the spirit of Rush Limbaugh, the literal spirit now, I guess, I would read the intro of his book. This book, right here. That's it. There's Al Rushbo. This book is called See, I Told You So. So we'll do that in just a minute. Look at that exquisite cover art. But See, I Told You So by Rush. And we'll take a little gander at the intro because I think that this intro really encapsulates kind of Rush. I think it nails it. And it's just it's a couple pages long. So I hope you'll bear with me while we do that in just a few minutes. That I said I'll do that after, I talk a little bit about him, but there isn't a book jacket. It comes in this case, this box case, or whatever. So that's the book. So we're gonna do that, and then we will talk about Melinda Scott versus Joshua Moon. That's gonna happen as well. And by the way, if you're looking for me to cover like the meltdown of people about Rush and all of the, people being mean to Rush and all that stuff, I'm not doing that. I don't know. I haven't been watching. I didn't feel like it would be worth it to go do that. I know like the Quartering put a video out about it and other people I'm sure are covering that, and you can find that there. So I'm not doing that. Yeah. Then we may cover some other stuff. It kind of depends on how long these two things go. So, yeah, I guess without further ado, let's get into these chats, and then let's get into the coffin of Rush Limbaugh. And don't start with me on like don't be disrespectful or anything. If I say a joke about Rush, it's not meant to be disrespectful. I don't believe in the idea that that jokes aren't meant for the dead. The dead can suffer along with the rest of us, and they can have jokes too. There is no too soon for a joke. The Wait 1968 says, "Hey Nick, first chat ever here. Ooh, hey, thank you. Wanted to honor my grandfather. He passed today. A badass Texan who investigated cartels and border patrol, and a loving family man. Proud to be his grandson. Hope everyone here has a good night." Oh, man. Well, much respect. Much respect to your grandfather. Much respect to him. And sad to hear of someone of his stature going. It sounds like I always feel like we're losing. We're losing many men who encompass and embody what American manhood should be. And we're gaining a bunch of, edamame suppository engulfing whelps. I feel like we're losing what manhood is and what Americanism is. So, cheers to you, buddy, and to your grandfather. I'll say this, what I try to say to everybody. Our parents, our grandparents, our loved ones, our media icons like Rush or whatever, whoever they are, they're always people. And I think there's a temptation when someone dies to do one of two things. It's to either venerate them as if they were something special beyond what they are, or there's an attempt to sort of mitigate who they were, like overly mitigate, to point out all their flaws. So we like it's like an A-B approach to death. Like someone was either good enough to merit that only the good is said, or they were bad enough to merit that only the bad was said. But they're people, and everybody has rough edges and flaws and ugly curves, especially fat women. And the really important part is not to focus on any sort of trait about a person. This is what I believe about when you lose someone who's personal to you, is it's not to focus on a particular trait or feature of the person. It's to always remember, it's to always focus on the memories that you have of them, and to hold on to those memories and experiences, because that's what part of that person matters when they're dead to you, right? Like, it's not whether they were mean to poor people. That doesn't matter to you anymore. I mean, maybe they were mean to poor people. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they're too nice to poor people and they wouldn't tell them to get their ass out and get a job. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, those traits and features aren't what last. And they're things that are fleeting. Those are things that are written down in someone's notebook about them. but their impact on you and the experiences that you have with them, those things are what matter. It's not the trait or the feature. What are they, a video game console? Like, it's not it doesn't matter. And in the end, those traits and features don't really matter on video game consoles either, right? It's the game that you play. It's the experience you had. It's the memory you create. So always, when you lose a loved one, don't sit and focus on a feature or an aspect. They're not a tech spec sheet, right? It's about what you did with them. Let that always carry you through. And you know, when you need to, pass those on to the next person. So, okay. So thank you very much to the Wait 1968. Very much appreciated, and very much respect to your grandfather, in all honesty. Reek says, don't know if the pun was made, but after last night's Twitch stream, I want to make you a team of our favorite space Egyptian Terminators in white and green and call it the Nikron Army. Yes. Yes. Kiwi Goes Live says, Permanent Waves was my favorite. Wait, Rush Limbaugh? Bad Vibes says, Eric Hunley saved you. Welcome back, Eric. Congrats. Yes. Welcome back to Eric Hunley. Eric Hunley's YouTube channel was unceremoniously yeeted in the middle of a live stream about Bitcoin the other day. And it was just tossed. His whole channel just gone. 15,000 subscribers, annihilated by YouTube with nary an explanation. Don't know how, but eventually it just came back. Although all of his content was deleted. So, whatever it was, Eric's content was perma-yeeted, but his channel is now back. I will be on his show on Friday, I believe, at 11 o'clock a.m. Central Time. So come check out the show there. I'm sure there will be announcements made, but that is where I'll be on Friday. So come show Eric some love. Subscribe to his channel if you ain't subscribed. Make sure you is subscribed. Speaking of which, I've got to fix the channel link in my description and make sure to announce that this stream will be uploaded to the archive channel. Go subscribe. https://www.youtube.com/Rekieta Law Live. This is where all the live stream archives are going. If you are not an every night live stream viewer, but you have to watch some, any, or all, or even all of them on a replay, make sure you are subscribed to that channel. Now, I do tend to leave the streams up here, at least unlisted, until they go there. However, that doesn't always work for people. That might not work for you on every single one. So go grab it. Go over there. Go make sure you can watch. That's what I have to say about that. Yeah. So that's done. Next thing, Intimidator 0108. And yes, RazorFist is on the menu as well. Intimidator 0108 says, I'm officially nicknaming you Nick Late Boomer Rekieta. In case you're wondering, remember the Forza Horizon 4 Lamborghini, lol? Yes. Glad to see you didn't turn into a popsicle this past weekend. Was definitely a cold one. It was very cold. It was cold and terrible. I was walking inside today from my car, and I just whined to Lady Rags. I'm like, I hate being cold. I hate it. But that's where we are. We're in Minnesota, and it gets cold. Although it's cold everywhere right now, and that's what the rest of the country gets for laughing at my communist state. We will blow Arctic winds all over your stupid states. You can be communist too. Ace of Spades. Ace of Spades says, oh no. In preacher voice. My brothers and sisters, we mourn the loss of a good man today. Rush Limbaugh has sadly passed away today. Lord, I ask that you walk with him and lead him. And can I get an amen in the chat? An amen for the Lord. Can I get an amen? Do you love him? Do you love it? Amen. So there you go. That is for you, Ace of Spades. All right. Thank you for the amens and a couple A women's, which very much appreciated. Very much appreciated. Okay, let's do this. Let's start talking about Rush. Rush Limbaugh is if he's not regarded as the greatest talk show broadcaster, the father of talk radio, the creator of, I don't know if he's the creator, the developer of what talk radio is, the finder of the format. If he's not all of those things, if he is not the preeminent person that goes to your mind when you think of what talk radio is, he should be. He should be. Rush figured it out for everybody. And if you notice this show is about 3 hours long, that's probably because of Rush Limbaugh. Like, in all honesty. It probably has a lot to do with it. Not all my live streams are 3 hours, and not all of them were 3 hours, but there's a reason that 3 hours is kind of a settling point. It's because of Rush Limbaugh. That's why everybody's show was 3 hours long. That's just how it goes. It's a format and a time frame that seems to work for this medium. People are willing to listen for about 3 hours. Now, not everybody listens to all 3 hours, of course, but it's like when you go longer than 3 hours, it has to be an event or a thing. But that's a good amount of time for people to spend. And I used to listen to Rush quite a bit, and I would try to listen to a 3-hour show. I would try to listen to a 3-hour show as frequently as possible. Now, to be fair, Rush sort of did a 3-hour show. Rush did about 60 minutes of content. Rush did about 60 minutes of content on a 3-hour show. But he had bumpers, he had production, he had Bo Snerdley, he had a bunch of stuff to pad out and aid that 3 hours. Lots of ads, of course. You had studio ads, and then you had the ads for the actual radio networks that were hosting him. All of those different things round out the 3 hours. But something about that 3 hours. Something about it sticks. I attribute that to Rush. I don't care if someone else did it first either. Someone else may have 3-houred him before he was 3-houring the rest of the world. But I think he's the one that made it into a thing. Made it into a thing. And I remember listening to other shows on occasion. I would find a talk show and it's 2 hours. I'm like, 2 hours? What is this? What is this? Amateur? What is this? Amateur production? What kind of garbage? Are they not good enough to get 3 hours? Like their network isn't willing to invest 3 hours into them? No, point to it. No point to it. So I give that to Rush. And I think it's important to realize what Rush did from a political standpoint with those 3 hours. Rush came in and really rose to prominence after the election of Bill Clinton in 92. Like that's when he really came into pure form, was with Bill. And what he did was he gave a haven for the right to have a place to not only have a discussion, but for that discussion to be better, both more serious and more lighthearted and more entertaining than anyone else was discussing politics. And in particular, it exposed how vapid and boring and ineffective left-wing commentary was in the talk space. It's almost like if you Rush was saying without saying that if you put left-wing talking points into a 3-hour show, the show would collapse under its inability to hold its own. It's not like he actually was, he may have said that at some point, I don't know. But it was the idea that he could do this for 3 hours and entertain whoever was listening, right, left, center, it didn't really matter. But when you went and listened to the left talk on talk radio, all you wanted to do was eat a bunch of knives and hope one of them killed you on the way down. And Rush just laid that out there. Not by again, saying it or critiquing left talking shows. It's just that he got out there and did it, and people wanted to listen to his thing. That's the that's what he manifested. And then the other thing he did was he made it, since it was so entertaining and since he was so dang good at it, he made it acceptable and cool to be Republican and to be opposed to Bill Clinton in a time when, remember, this is 1992, Bill Clinton is coming in and unseating the Republican George Bush Sr. People are going through, very rare that we have a midterm president change like we do now, like we have now. And there's some parallels to what's going on. You have a president who's been unseated by a Democrat after one term, and you've got a lot of people looking for some direction involved in that. Where do we go? Is it okay? Is it okay to be on the right? If you're a casual observer, like not in the United States and not engaged in our politics, but if you're like from space or whatever, looking in, you're like, oh, wow. Right now, you got to be asking yourself, is it okay to be one of these right-leaning Nazi hate mongers? Like, is that an okay thing? I don't know. I mean, everything I hear about them is bad. It seems like there's a lot of them, but I guess it's not okay for half the country to exist. That's how you can kind of feel if you get wrapped up in the media and the rhetoric. And Rush flatly opposed that just by his mere existence. And I think that matters. That matters a lot. And that's a big part of, one, what made him so popular, and two, a big part of what he did for America. And I truly mean that, because what would happen in 94, of course, is the Republicans would retake a House majority on a huge wave of the sort of Rush-style talking points in politics. And headed up by the man with a head larger than whatever room he's in, Newt Gingrich. And the Republican House became a real force and a real thorn in Bill Clinton's side, a counterbalance to it all. I think they owed a lot of that to Rush, and I think they knew they owed a lot of that to Rush. So, those are the things he did. Now, those are like stat sheets that I was talking about earlier. For me, I learned about cancel culture from Rush Limbaugh. I remember his advertisers being attacked all the time, taken away because of something he would say. And of course, I'd listen and be like, but what did he say? Like, because nothing I've ever heard this guy say is really that controversial. I mean, this doesn't even approach conversations I'm having with my friends. But, Rush would make fun of someone, some woman, some Democrat, somebody. And somehow that would be the worst thing that could happen is he dared to make fun of someone. And so I learned about that from Rush. I mean, before I learned about it from anyone else, and I was like, oh, so I guess they can just go after your advertisers, your sponsors, your money, and I guess that's just how it goes. But Rush was pretty well insulated. This is back when contracts matter, and he had a 10-year contract at that time with Clear Channel Communications worth somewhere around $400 million. And so, Rush was doing okay still, even when his sponsors would go. But it was still this notion that they could attack your business in a real, tangible, Karen-like way. That was something that I personally learned from Rush Limbaugh. And then I would see it grow and manifest as the years progressed, of course. But it was in a lot of ways it was a formative lesson. Let's see. Let's see. There's actually I'm trying to find a very particular clip here of Rush Limbaugh. Where is it? This is why when I'm looking at a story about Rush Limbaugh do I get pictures of Nancy Pelosi? Not what I want. I want to play this clip of Rush, and then I want to read from his book. That's what I want to do. Why does nobody actually have the damn clip? Hold on. Are we serious? It says listen to the audio. It's not actually there. Here we go. I swear I'm going to find this stupid thing. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Here it is. Is this the one? This is 16 minutes. Oh my. I just want the clip. See, here's the other thing I learned from Rush Limbaugh. It would be to be prepared, which I obviously didn't learn very well. This is the best. This is true radio here. Do we have it? Is this it? Because the piece I want is not 16 minutes. Okay, here it is. It's like 1 minute long. I think we got it. I think we need a little bit of Rush's voice. That's why I wanted to play this clip. And then I said I'll read the intro to his book. His book, again, from back in 1992. Or whenever this was. I'll double check. I think it's 92. Maybe 93. Okay. Here we go. I didn't think this clip was going to be so hard to...
So I hope you all have a great Christmas, a great New Year. And I hope that the things that are in store for all of us in the coming year are certainly better than what we have endured in 2020. I don't know too many people have enjoyed 2020. Probably some sickos out there who have, but 2021 has to be better. We're going to try to make it that way here at the EIB Network. Again, folks, thank you so much. I wish there were a way to say it other than thank you. You're just the best. My family is just the best. Thank you.
That's it. You know, that's the Rush Limbaugh sign off of his last show of 2020. Which was right before Christmas. So you can hear it. You can hear it in his voice. And really, the reason I wanted to play the clip is because Rush had a voice you can't replicate. And it's not just in the tone and the timbre of his voice. It was just him. It's just him. It's not something you can bring back or do justice to or anything like that. He had he'd been doing this for so long. And I think when anyone's been doing something as long as that, there's the mastery theory, like 10,000 hours to truly master something. I mean, whether or not that's true doesn't really matter. But when you get someone who's been doing this for 30 years, there's a certain something that develops over that time, and it grows and it matures and fosters itself and reinforces what it's doing. And that was in every single episode of what Rush did eventually. And I'm not talking about now. I mean, he's had it forever. There's just something to the way he spoke that was purely Rush. And so I wanted to have his sign off. He had optimism going into 2021, which was cute because, of course, now we know that he's dead. And so that optimism was short-lived, but not only that, but he had optimism because Rush is not someone who believed in the inability of American people to overcome a political mess. He didn't believe, yes, inappropriate. I know. I told you guys, I don't believe that there is a too early for jokes. So that'll happen. He didn't I saw, a lot of people during the election coverage and stuff like that saying, why vote again? It's over. You can't do anything. The system's too big. Rush never, ever, ever believed the system was too big. Never did. Because remember, Rush rose to prominence when the system was very much opposed to who he was, who people who were on the right were. This wave for Joe Biden isn't a new thing. It's not some special thing. It's this idea that Republicans are on the way out. It happened in 2008. It happened in 1992. It's not new. It's not new. And so Rush wasn't someone who capitulated to the idea that the system was bigger than the American people. That wasn't who he was. And you can hear it there. After 2020 being an absolute suck ass of a year, I don't know how else to say it. It was just terrible. People weren't able to see their families, their friends. They weren't able to work. They were losing jobs, losing businesses. Whole sections of cities being shut down temporarily at first and then shut down forever due to COVID. Or maybe family businesses being burned to the ground, by rioters as America goes from this weird time in 2006 and 2007 when everybody's like, hey, you know what? Maybe we're on the right track. Maybe we're getting back together and this country's going to be a little bit better. And then suddenly we elect Obama. And people are like, well, I guess it's kind of cool we elected a black president. That might mean something's changing in the world, I guess. I guess that's something to look forward to, even if I don't agree with this communist politically. And then we drove like Thelma and Louise right off the cliff and left Brad Pitt behind or whatever. And suddenly we're tumbling towards animus and anger and hints of civil war and stuff ever since. And that's only culminated in 2020, right? Like that just manifested in these, really on January 6th, right? With the Capitol riots coming. And despite all of this going on and these notions about and the frustration coming from the right and saying we'll never be able to overcome the system. They'll just cheat. They'll just out-cheat us. That wasn't Rush's thing ever. And so I think it's important to remember that going into 2021, he had optimism. Cancer, AIDS, or whatever got the better of him. But that spirit isn't something that dies. And that attitude shouldn't be something that dies either. Phoenix Orem says, shameless plug, buy Phoenix Down tea at Dragon's Treasure in Vic voice. Poor Nina Tucker. That girl had a rough life. Godspeed. Imagine going into hell now. Wait, I'm a go into hell now. Okay, yeah, that's probably a good one. Vanta Blackberry Jim says, this is your fault, Rackets. Black Preacher Voice has me laughing every fucking time. Curse you and your spot-on religious grifter speak. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for the curse. And then the Drunken Rocky says, let's all have a sip of whiskey together in remembrance of Rush. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. Why would you say AIDS for? It's cancer AIDS is a meme. It's not a real thing. It's just illness. Body destroying illness. For Rushbo, I'm drinking a local whiskey, local to Minneapolis. I don't know AIDS, but I know black people hate you. Me? Why? I'm drinking Two Gingers Irish whiskey. It's a local Irish whiskey, which is weird, but an Irishman who owns Kieran's Pub in downtown Minneapolis created a whiskey. So, to Rush. Oh, that's good. All right. And anyone asking about super chats, I read all of the $20 plus super chats first, and then the other ones come later. Seven Wonders, since you asked, and you probably aren't aware of that rule, I'll read yours real quick. It says, thank you for presenting the truth. It is greatly appreciated by many of us. Didn't always agree with Rush, but credit for saying what he believed. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. I'm going to try and read this without having to move my microphone too much. And pardon any affectations I do while reading this. They're not intentional. I try to capture, what I think the person is trying to say with inflection. You hold in your hot little hands, my friends, America's next great publishing milestone. Soon, See, I Told You So will eclipse all publishing records known in the English-speaking world, most of which, by the way, were set by my first tome, The Way Things Ought to Be. But this book was never supposed to be. In fact, the conventional wisdom that was that after the 1992 election, I was just going to fade away into obscurity, a relic of a Republican era of greed and selfishness. They said there would be no room for me in the age of compassion that would assuredly be dawning come January 20th, 1993. Well, once again, the experts were wrong. Dead wrong. Not only did the Rush Limbaugh radio program soar to new, previously uncharted heights in the annals of Marconi's invention, but my television show also became the nation's hottest new late-night program. The Limbaugh Letter, my stellar journal of opinion, became what is arguably the most successful startup publication in history. And of course, we all know about the first book, which is still setting records in hardcover sales as this follow-up goes to press. Let's see now. I've conquered radio, television, the newsletter business, and the book world. How is this possible? How could this be? Why have I been so successful in areas where so many others have tried and failed? What accounts for the unprecedented popularity of my words, whether broadcast or in print? How do I defy all the odds again and again? It's actually quite simple. Finally, here is someone saying what I think is the most often heard reaction people have when they are exposed to my ruminations. People respond to what I say because it is right. My wit and wisdom are like a lifeline of reason tossed to a culture, nearly drowning in confusion and murkiness. No wonder more people are clinging to my hopeful and incisive words every day. That's why I decided to write See, I Told You So. I wanted to accomplish several things at once. First, so many important developments have occurred since The Way Things Ought to Be was published, from the election of Bill Clinton to Dan's bake sale, that there's a lot of ground to cover. Second, there were issues and topics I didn't get a chance to address in the first book. Sacred cows that were, until now, never skewered or gored, as the case might be. But most important, I realized early on just how right I have been about so much. And that's the theme of this book. But don't mistake this as an exercise in self-aggrandizement. I don't need any more ego gratification. Like everything I touch, this book is on the cutting edge of societal evolution. It is loaded with insight, brimming with profundity. It explodes the hypocrisy, fraud, and deceit of the liberalism that is holding this nation hostage. It shatters the lies of the Clinton administration that are routinely covered up by the dominant media. It sets the agenda for conservative thought through the remainder of what historians will someday refer to as the era of Limbaugh. But I should interject a word of caution here. Not all of you about to plunge into this wellspring of undiluted truth are conservatives. No doubt hundreds of thousands of liberals are picking up this book out of curiosity, perhaps, or maybe in the desperate pursuit of opposition research. For those of you who fit this description, I want you to prepare yourself. Make certain you are in familiar surroundings, sitting down, wearing comfortable clothing, and have not inhaled any illicit substances for at least the last 30 minutes. Should shortness of breath occur as you immerse yourself in the following pages, be sure to seek the assistance of an experienced conservative counselor. You may well need someone to talk you through this. As you read this book, you will encounter a great number of themes interwoven throughout its pages. Some points will resurface in various chapters of the book because, although each chapter stands on its own, this is an integrated work. It is important for you to understand that my purpose is not to trash liberals or liberalism, but merely to elucidate the many political and economic issues and events of our times. In illuminating these issues for you, I admittedly speak from a decidedly conservative worldview. In the process, an inevitable discussion of the liberal worldview ensues, and though I believe liberalism to be a misguided, destructive political and cultural philosophy, I do not endeavor to personally indict, impugn, or castigate all of its purveyors. I've said this 100 times. This is not personal, and it's not about personalities. It's about the future of this country. Though I denounce liberalism's effect on our body politic, our culture, and our society, I deliberately eschew alarmism and fatalism. I reject the pessimistic notion that our nation is so infected with cultural poisons that it has one foot in the grave. Why should right-thinking people capitulate just because Bill Clinton and a liberal Democratic Congress are in office? This gives us the golden opportunity to demonstrate the facts. They are now in control and will not be able to escape accountability. Mr. Clinton and his Ivy League colleagues are now relatively free to use this country as their grand laboratory experiment. All their theorems will be tested, with America and all Americans, not just the wealthy, as their guinea pigs. But don't despair. They don't have enough savvy to ruin this country in 4 years, even if they try. America is much more resilient than that. The only thing we must guard against once the inevitable failure of their programs manifests itself is the rhetorical spin Mr. Clinton and his propagandists will immediately place upon it. Later in the book, I forecast for you some of the excuses they will offer when their programs fail, so I won't spoil it for you by telling you here. Just keep a sharp eye out and be prepared to combat their propaganda, sophistry, and history revision with the truth. For as I have told you, you must have the courage to believe the truth, and always be of good cheer, and remember how to smile. This will always distinguish you from your liberal friends. Pour yourselves a Snapple, prop your feet up, and enjoy. You are, my friends, about to be exposed to the kind of bristling, cogent analysis available nowhere else. Because of this, your initial reaction may be shock and disbelief, but this too shall pass. It is merely the normal reflexive reaction to unbridled truth. Don't fight it. Don't even try. Surrender yourself. In time, in fact, before you finish digesting this sage guidebook, you will come to the inevitable conclusion that I am right, have been right, and will likely continue to be right in the future. You will find that the information is accurate, the explication sound, the analysis penetrating, and the format profound. I predict you will, before too long, even begin to enjoy this. Don't be afraid. It's okay. Really. Meanwhile, prepare your mind to be challenged as it has never been challenged before. Don't be surprised if your brain is stimulated to the point that genuine human thought takes place. This is normal for non-liberals. You're making progress. One more thing. Since this book is largely devoted to recording and documenting my many searing insights and successful prognostications, let me reiterate and affirm one more. The conventional wisdom, once again, is betting against me. It seems there's something of a sophomore jinx in publishing. Second books, it is said, never sell as well as first efforts. Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, is simply because, until now, I had never written a second book. I just hope those publishing experts are smart enough to get out of the way of the stampedes this book will inevitably incite at retail outlets all over the fruited plain. Here it comes. See, I told you so. So, that's Rush. That's Rush. I think he nails it, by the way. And I think that could be written today. Were Rush or another Rush around, the exact intro could be written, and you could just change it to Joe Biden instead of Bill Clinton. And it would be just as valid and just as true. So I wanted to share that with you guys in honor of the godfather of conservative talk radio. Rest in peace, Rush Limbaugh. Rest in peace. Okay. Paradox Effect says, here's overtime shillings. Rip for Rush. Rip to Tim Pool butchering your last name, and rip to Biden for saying he likes kids over people. Oh, no. No, Joe. Don't do it. Don't do it. Seamus Mowlin says, was he right? Did his second book outsell his first? I have no idea. I have no idea. Oh, God. Joe. This man has got to stop sniffing kids. It is not good. Let's see. What do we got? We've got Melinda Scott versus Jani Jersh. Melinda Scott versus Jani Jersh. Pull this up here. Oh, got to get my keyboard back in place. Woo! Guys, I'm telling you, an hour ago I didn't think I'd be able to do the show. I was so tired. By the way, if anybody, I don't know if anybody in the chat is able to find the sales numbers for The Way It Ought to Be and See I Told You So. I have no idea if his second book outsold his first, but I'm guessing he did just fine with it. That's another thing that I think Rush Limbaugh probably taught me, but I wouldn't learn this lesson until later. Rush was a truly independent beast. In that Rush created a brand that would survive. He was cancel resistant. Everyone is cancelable. But yes, guys. Tim Pool mentioned me. It's okay. It's just somebody on their show mentioned me. It's fine. Someone brought me up on Tim Pool's show while he was talking to James O'Keefe, and yes, that occurred. It's okay. I've been mentioned on Tim Pool before. Look, I've been mentioned on Tim Pool before. It's fine. It's great. But yes, that did happen. Everything you said after Oklahoma last night was equivalent to Red Bar Radio. I don't know what that means. But what Rush showed was a couple things. He early on developed a brand that was, and he was able to market the brand. The brand was him, and he was able to market the brand. He did the book sales, and those books hit, they hit the bestseller charts. This would pave the way in a weird way. Think about how strange this is. This paves the way to today where we have Comicsgate, right? Where now Rush used a little bit more traditional methods. They were still open to everybody back then, or open in the same way. Rush was able to get publishers to publish a book, and then he was able to get them to publish a second book. And those books were wildly successful because of the brand that he cultivated specifically. Okay? So then what you see is that translating to now as cancel culture gatekeeps mainstream media from otherwise very successful brands, people are building their own. People are building their own brands, and they're doing it very, very effectively. And they're disrupting things like New York Times bestseller lists. A New York Times bestseller list is breakable by anyone with a decent sized audience who writes a book. They actually have to modify the bestseller list. I think if they were honest about it, Mike Cernovich when he writes books, would have torn up the charts, which is like, think about that. Because Mike Cernovich developed a brand associated with himself that people listen to, and then he wrote books. New York Times doesn't know what to do. Bestsellers, by the way, in most categories, bestsellers are something like 20 to 40,000 copies. That's nothing. That's nothing at all. It's so many less books than people think. And so that's why they've had to redo how they do it. And they don't actually put best-selling books. They don't actually put best-selling books on the bestsellers anymore because they can't. They can't do it. It would all be ridiculous. Well, first of all, it would all be manga. They had to take manga off the bestseller charts and put it in its own thing. It's like saying, well, I'm really good at super chats if you don't include VTubers, right? Like it's the same concept. You can't, there's certain things that people will buy and they make a mockery of the systems that are in place. One of my favorite examples of this is this album. It's called Cuxmas Carols, okay? It's written by a silly Greek man named Asterios Kokonos. And all Cuxmas Carols were Christmas carols rewritten to maximize the use of the word cuck and directed at a guy named Maddox. That's it. Maddox from the internet. That's all this Christmas album was, Cuxmas Carols. And he releases this thing, and then all of the people who are fans of Asterios and fans of the Dick Show run and buy Cuxmas Carols. And because of that, Cuxmas Carols is a Billboard charting album. It is a Billboard charting album. Like what is this? What is this? You've got these overproduced celebrities making, millions and millions of dollars through record labels, producing this nonsense. And then you have a fat guy sweating through parodies of Christmas carols saying cuck, 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 cuck. And that, something that I think the entire album was recorded in 24 hours, if I'm not mistaken. Something ridiculous. And it's Billboard charting. And this goes back to Rush. And that is not directly, right? Not directly, but is probing these areas in ways that opened up the doors of accessibility to the next person to do it and the next person to do it. Glenn Beck to have successful book publishing just because he was able to develop an audience and had a direct line to market to them. Didn't have to sell this book. You didn't have to advertise it outside of his own market that already existed. And then the same thing happens. And we see how effective that is. The idea of relationship moving merchandise. And now, of course, that translates down to Comicsgate and things like it, where someone like Ethan Van Sciver can write a comic about a frog that fights giant alien wasps or whatever and can sell it for $1 million. Something no Marvel Pro can do. They cannot write a single issue and sell it for $1 million. They can't do it. Can't get the numbers. They can't make the money. And the fact that that exists, we owe to guys like Rush Limbaugh. And I think that's amazing. So, one more hats off to Rush Limbaugh. And there was a huge chat here. First, Bad Vibe says, sniffing kids isn't normal, but partaking with Hunter it is. Ew. Ew. Jason McConnell with a giant chat. Thank you so much, Jason. Says 1990. I'm in grade 10. I've just hanged my framed Metternich poster. I'm listening to Limbaugh and reading a book on Impressionist painting. My father opens my bedroom door, looks and goes, son, your mother and I love you, but we don't understand you, and closes the door. Rip Rush. Oh, man, that's a... Oh. That is a great memory, buddy. Oh, that's fantastic. The Dark Side Boomer Melissa says, Nick, I just looked the date Rush got clean from his Oxy addiction. I'm in recovery for it too. It's a hard kick. I've had multiple surgeries because of MS. The left just came out the day he died claiming he trafficked. Of course they did. Of course they did. That's another thing the left never let die. Was a personal failing of Rush Limbaugh, dealing with addiction, getting addicted to something, to what has become an addiction epidemic in this country, and that is opioids. For all of the bleeding and the crying over opioid addiction crisis, the one person they never allowed to live down his opioid addiction and recovery was Rush Limbaugh. And that is the quality of people that we're dealing with. No, I wouldn't call Ryan, I'm not saying his beating the addiction was a failure. No, that was a triumphant success. But falling to addiction is a failure. It is. And I think anyone who's recovered from addiction necessarily acknowledges that their first failure was falling to the addiction. You have to take ownership of it to get out of it. You have to own it. That's the steps, is owning the failure. It's owning that failure and then realizing that it was just a failure. That's a big part of addiction recovery, is realizing that, it was a failure. That's okay. We fail all the time. Most people fail in many things constantly. And it's just like any other failure. Now you pick up and move on from it. So, to all of you out there, by the way, struggling with addictions, certainly, I would suggest to look to people like Rush as an inspiration for kicking them. There are people out there who have bested your addiction, whatever it may be. Hunter Biden, if your addiction is pictures of Sasha and Malia Obama, then someone out there has also kicked that addiction. If your addiction is snorting meth off of your hard disk plates, Hunter Biden, someone else out there has also kicked that addiction. Okay, let's get into Jenny Jersh. You're addicted to the Nick Ricada show. That's the one addiction you can't kick. I forbid it. You got to keep coming back. I don't care how self-destructive it is. You will be here. I'm kidding. I'm always kidding with that. So can we hear the truth? Did Obama really cook his dog? Obama ate dog. That was in one of his interviews. I don't know if he cooked his dog, but I don't know if he cooked it at all. Someone cooked a dog and Obama ate it. That's a thing and that's from Obama. I didn't make that up. So oh, Genshiken, man, that sucks. That sucks. All right, so this is I've got the wrong thing pulled up. How do I have the wrong thing pulled up? I have the where is it? That was the Trump. This is the Trump lawsuit I did a video on earlier today. Let's see. Mr. K says, oh boy, you seem too genuine when you said it. We don't get to hear those things in Australia without seeking it out. I'm on to you, Mr. K. I'm on to you. Can't believe people still on this Australia thing, pretending that that's a real place. Very, very funny. All right. This is an order. This is a new order in Melinda Scott versus Wise County Department of Social Services et al., which the et al. Includes Joshua Connor Moon. In fact, he's the last remaining defendant. Yeah. Oh, thank you. A-Wig? Exactly. Hold on. Hold on. We need to do this. You want more proof that Australia isn't real? You tell me Australia's real. You look at this and you tell me Australia's a real place. Facebook blocks users from sharing news in Australia. That was the easiest thing for Facebook to do. It doesn't even exist. Social Network also said users worldwide won't be allowed to view or share content from Australian news publishers. They don't exist. It's not a real place. Some backwards idea from, I don't know, some fiction writer created it for a government somewhere. Do you honestly think there's men running around wrestling with crocodiles and throwing bent pieces of wood around like it matters? Like that's a thing that happens? I can't believe people buy into this. This place, it can't exist. It can't. And now, this is just Facebook helping the government out. Do you know how many people the government has been paying to keep the idea that Australia is real in the heads of everybody? Like, do you know how much that costs? You have to get hundreds of people to pretend to be millions of Australians online. That's the first thing you got to do. Then you have to generate news. You have to pretend that an entire continent got set on fire. Okay? Like, they had to have news stories. They're like, an entire continent was set on fire. And you're like, oh my God, surely the death tolls must be in the millions. They're like, well, no, largely no one's there at all. Maybe a couple kangaroos or whatever died. Probably a koala. And you have to perpetuate these myths over and over. How do we solve this? Facebook just removes the news. They just cut staff. That's all that happened. Those stimulus checks, all the money for the stimulus checks just came from Australian propagandist news writers that no longer have to be employed because Facebook isn't sharing the news anymore. I'm just saying, I can't believe you guys think it's real. Australia. They expect me to believe that Australia, a place with hawks that spread wildfires, is a real place. Repeat, like, come on. If you haven't figured out the fiction yet, why do birds keep defeating a continent that supposedly has people on it? First it's emus. Now it's hawks, just burning the whole place to the ground. Have you ever seen a hawk burn anything to the ground? Of course not. That's ridiculous. But in Australia, that's Tuesday. Curtis says, so you're telling me that a prison colony with the world's most dangerous animals also has the hottest women in the world? Curtis, haven't you learned from True Lies? Do you know why all the Australian women are hot? It's the True Lies effect. Because they're all actresses. You have to hire all the models. That's why no one in regular movies is hot anymore. The Australian market was too big. It was government funded. Guaranteed work. All the hot models just went to Australia. Went to Australian propaganda, I should say. It's the exact thing. Not True Lies. Last Action Hero. Damn it. I said True Lies. Last Action Hero is what I meant. We've got to stop this. We've got to stop this. Your women are annoying. They're models. Okay, so here we go. Melinda Scott versus Wise County Department of Social Services et al. And like I said, Joshua Moon is the last guy standing on this. Everyone else has been dismissed out. Everyone else was dismissed out because of the abject failure of a case presented by Melinda Scott. Joshua Moon has not been dismissed out of the case yet. So don't get your hopes up on that. But I'm thinking that'll happen in a couple of weeks. Butthole Weeb says, miss you, Nick. Want to let me on for anime talk after this topic you're on? Would love to chit-chat if you are down. Not tonight, Butthole Weeb, but send me a message on somewhere. Because I do plan to do an anime show sometime soon. There's some other people, and we might just do some anime talk. Not tonight, though. Bad Vibe says, hold it, Nikki. You're missing the pro-flat earth argument. Australia is down under, bottom flat earth confirmed. No, again, they have to... They're just perpetuating the globular myth. Okay. Melinda Scott, pro se plaintiff, Matthew D. Harden, Washington, D.C. for defendant Joshua Moon. And Matthew Harden appears to be a great attorney. I like this guy a lot. That Two Ginger stuff is pretty good. Defendant Joshua Moon has moved to set aside entry of a default pursuant to Rule 55C. The motion has been fully briefed, and for the reasons set forth, it will be granted. I will also dispose of other motions filed by the parties. The plaintiff brought this diversity action against Joshua Moon and others. She contends that Moon owns a website on which other defendants have posted personal information about the plaintiff for the purpose of causing social harm and emotional distress to the plaintiff. The plaintiff was allowed to proceed in forma pauperis by the magistrate judge and supplied the U.S. Marshal Service with an address to serve Moon with the summons and complaint. That address turned out to be the business address of a company called Quick Pack and Ship, which both of those words mean the opposite of what you think. Located in Fort Walton Beach. It's actually a Yowie publisher. That's what it is. Located in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, offering an electronic mailbox service by which it will accept documents for clients who in turn have the option to pay a fee to have the documents sent electronically to them. A deputy U.S. Marshal delivered the summons to an employee of this company on August 21st, 2020. On November 16th, 2020, Moon, having not appeared, answered, or otherwise defended, the clerk entered a default of record pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 55A. Sending a copy thereof to Moon's address. Now, this is... Okay, no, that's good. Okay. On December 7th, 2020, Moon, by counsel, filed a motion to set aside default judgment, alleging that he had not received the summons delivered on August 18th and requesting that the default be set aside pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 55C. Motion to set aside, ECF number 25. He contemporaneously filed a motion to dismiss the complaint. How do you think this went? I told you how it would go. Of course, the default would be set aside, I said, because of course it will. And of course it has been. If a party does not plead or otherwise defend as provided by the rules, the clerk is required to enter a default. The court may set aside entry of default upon a showing of good cause. This standard is to be liberally construed because of the institutional preference that controversies be decided on the merits. And this is the problem that Melinda just didn't ever seem to understand. If you have a default and someone shows up and they have at all a plausible reason for not showing up earlier, other than, I didn't take this seriously or I didn't want to, any plausible reason that's like, I would have shown up, here I am, then the court is going to default to this. They're commanded to under the rules. Please construe this liberally. Allow people to defend it, because default judgments don't resolve controversies. They just move money. Among the factors to be considered in deciding whether good cause has been shown by the defaulted party are whether the party has a meritorious defense, the personal responsibility of the party for the default, and any prejudice to the opposing parties. Other factors include whether the party acted with reasonable diligence to set aside the default, whether there is a history of deleteriousness in the case, and the availability of other sanctions. Like, okay, does he have a meritorious defense? His defense is essentially, everything that lady said is bullshit. So, of course, he has a meritorious defense. It's literally, this is nonsense, and this shouldn't happen. And the judge knows this shouldn't happen. The judge dismissed all of the other counts against all of the other people because the lawsuit is ultimately nonsensical. The next, the personal responsibility of the party for the default. So was Josh personally responsible for defaulting here? Well, no. If his claim is taken as true, and that I guess the court could assign a modicum of responsibility. If everything said is taken as true, then maybe the court could say, well, I guess he could have paid money to receive the summons through his electronic mailbox. The problem with that is, of course, no one is required to pay money to receive a summons by another party. That is just not something that courts require. That would be prejudicial. If you had to pay for other people to sue you, like just at the onset, that would be nonsensical. And 3, any prejudice to the opposing parties. What prejudice does Melinda Scott face if this default is overturned? None. None. She still gets every opportunity to make every argument about the case. And the case would then be decided on the merits. That's not prejudicial. That's the process. That's how it works. Other factors include whether the party acted with reasonable diligence to set aside the default. This typically means, did they respond to the court within a year? A year. Remember, court moves slow, and these timelines are pretty long. Whether there is a history of deleteriousness in the case, obviously there isn't a history of it because this is his first action in the case at all, and the availability of other sanctions. Any doubts about whether relief should be granted should be resolved in favor of setting aside the default so that the case may be heard on the merits. Any doubts. If you have any doubt at all, then grant the default. I find that these factors weigh in favor of granting the defendant's motion. In the first place, as contended, there's an argument that service of process on the defendant was defective. Here we go. Good cause exists for vacatur when the defendant pleads a failure to effect service by the plaintiffs. Under the federal rules, there are 3 available procedures to follow in effecting proper service on the initial suit papers on an individual defendant, such as Moon. The plaintiff may follow the federal rules, Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 4E2, rules of the state in which the court sits, Virginia Code annotated 8.01-296, or the rules of the state where the service is made, Florida statutes annotated 48.031. Neither the federal rules nor the Virginia rules permit service by way of a mailbox service. Florida does have a statutory provision that permits such service under certain limited conditions. One of those conditions is that the private mailbox must be the only address discoverable for the defendant. The plaintiff has admitted in a subsequent pleading her understanding that Moon's residence is with his mother in Pensacola, Florida. So here's what the judge is doing, because Moon allegedly doesn't live in Pensacola, Florida. He lives in like Ukraine or something, somewhere over there. Somewhere over in the Euro-Asiatic area. I don't know anymore. I don't keep track. But if maybe the Netherlands, I don't remember where he said he was moving. Wherever Moon is, it's not Florida. But the judge doesn't care that Moon is actually in Florida or not, because it doesn't matter, because Melinda Scott thinks that there's another address where he resides in Florida. And if she thinks that, then she should have tried that. That would be required under the Florida statute. If true service could have been made there for Moon on any person residing in that home who is at least 15 years old. Obviously, she didn't do that. It is also contended that there is a lack of proper venue, that the court lacks personal jurisdiction over Moon, that the complaint fails to state a claim upon which relief can be granted, and that the action is barred by res judicata or collateral estoppel. All of those would be fatal to Melinda's case if any of them are true. Moreover, there is no evidence that the private mailbox service performed its duty or that Moon actually received the summons and complaint. There's no evidence that the plaintiff has been subject to legal prejudice or that any of the other factors point to fault on Moon's part. For these reasons, or that any of the other factors point to fault on Moon's part. For these reasons, the defendant's motion will be granted. Other pending motions will be resolved in this opinion in order. The defendant's motion to dismiss will be resolved in a future opinion. So he does not actually dismiss the case yet. He doesn't actually dismiss the case in this order. It is still ongoing. Here we go. Accordingly, it is ordered as follows. Motion to set aside the default and the default entered against is granted and the default entered against the defendant is vacated. The motion to strike by the plaintiff is denied. So these are things Melinda filed, right? The motion to dismiss defendant's motion to extend deadline, filed by Melinda, is denied. The second motion to compel production from defendant Joshua Moon, filed by Melinda, is denied. The motion for extension of time to serve summons on Jane Doe 1 and John Does 1 through 3 is taken under advisement. This is also by Melinda. She has asked for permission for extension of time to serve these people. She's likely not going to get this relief at all. The motion to quash and dismiss defendant's request to vacate previous orders and for issuance of a protective order, stay, or other relief is denied. Defendant Joshua Moon's second motion to extend deadline pursuant to local civil rule 11C2 is denied as moot as to the motions docketed and taken under advisement as the motion docketed as ECF number 39, which is the extension of time to serve summons. So all of these motions are denied anyway. So the extension of the deadline to respond to them is denied. The extension of deadline here is taken under advisement because this motion is not denied yet. The motion to dismiss by defendant Moon is taken under advisement. Plaintiff is allowed another opportunity to respond to the motion to dismiss, provided it is filed within 14 days of the date of this order. No motions to strike or other like motions will interrupt the running of the deadline for a response. He already knows what she's going to do. He already knows what she's going to do. She's going to file a bunch of frivolous nonsense. And he's like, nope, you can file it. You got 14 days to respond to this. The judge is going to rule for Joshua Moon in this case. The reason I say that is because he's giving the plaintiff every opportunity to flesh out her argument. As much opportunity as she could possibly want, he's giving it to her. He says, go ahead, make all of your arguments. That way, you can't go to the appeals court and say, I didn't give you every opportunity to respond to this. That's why he's giving her 14 days to respond, even though she's already responded to all of this stuff. But he says, don't file this other bullshit. It's not going to help you. This is the call sign that says he's prepared to dismiss this. Now, maybe Melinda Scott brings something in one of those arguments in some far off earth where the judge says, oh, okay. I mean, I guess this should go on. That's what he's giving her, this last ditch opportunity. You have 2 weeks to tell me this should happen. Unlikely. Can Josh get damages or lawyer fees? She's filing as a poor person. In forma pauperis, in the form of a pauper. Even if he wins fees, she doesn't have them. She doesn't have the fees to give to him. When will she be labeled as a vexatious litigant? That's something that they can move for. I believe it's in their motion as part of the relief on motion to dismiss. Whether or not she will, hard to say. They've been subtly building the case in every filing, mentioning that she has sued Josh at least 5 times prior to this in various courts, all failures of lawsuits. So it's possible the judge will look at it, but I don't know. It's an extreme remedy to take away someone's right to sue. So whether or not they'll do it, I mean, if there's a case for it, Melinda's a good case for it. But whether or not they will, whether or not this judge will, hard to say. Will he be able to recover his lawyer costs if she claims in forma pauperis? I mean, he can still get a judgment against her for fees. He just won't be able to collect on the judgment because she doesn't have any money. She doesn't have any money. Finally, defendant's motion for partial stay, protective order, and other relief is granted in part in that all discovery in the case by the parties is stayed pending the resolution of the pending motion to dismiss, and Joshua Moon's motion for an order to show cause is denied. So they did get denied on the order to show cause as to why this thing should even be happening. That's because the judge is probably going to dismiss it again. I mean, very, very simple. Very simple for that. The clerk shall provide a copy of this opinion in order to the plaintiff. So, as stated, all of the reasons exist for this to be dismissed. The judge is giving Melinda an opportunity to say her last words, and then she'll end up losing. Outside of some miracle where she brings some really compelling thing that Josh Moon did something to her. Which is not going to happen. And in that case, the best thing she'd get is permission to file the complaint. She'd still have to serve him. Technically, he's still not served. So that's great. By the way, we're at 900 likes. If you guys could pump that over 1,000, I'd really appreciate it. Of course, only if you enjoy the show. If you don't enjoy the show, don't click like. But if you enjoy the show, please do. Please do. So anyway, there's not really too much to say here. All of Melinda's little delaying antics and nonsense that she's been filing, all of those, the judge just got rid of those. Casually removed them. They're gone. They don't matter. And they're not going to affect Josh. What is affecting Josh, of course, is this case. I'm sure this is costing, this does cost money. I don't believe Matthew Harden is working for free. If he is, he's doing phenomenal free work, but I think Josh is paying for it. And I'm guessing he's paying pretty well. This stuff costs money. If there's a way, if you like Josh, if there's a way to support him, I encourage you to do so. I actually don't know how you support Josh right now. Like, I really don't. I have no idea how that functions at present. But I'm sure there is some way to support him. But yeah, like I said, all of the factors here, service was absolutely improper. The case is bogus in and of itself, and now that's been shown, and so we've got a judge giving this lady her last opportunity, and then it's going to be over. So yeah, good job. Good job on that. Melinda, way to waste everybody's time. You horrific person. Like, just in general, we need to take a moment and appreciate how awful this person is. Because if I had to guess, this is probably costing Josh something like, 10 grand or more. Could be 15. I have no idea. I don't know what he's worked out with the attorney on fees or whatever, but you can expect this is a 5-figure ordeal for nothing. For absolutely nothing. Mike Hurley, I don't know if they can deny her ability to use the Informa Pauperis filing. I don't know. Thank you all for the 1,000 likes. Much appreciated. Bad Vibe says, noticed crickets from Scott since her first/last appearance. Well, I mean, she had responded to everything that she needed to respond to. And then, on the show. On the show. Oh, yeah. Yeah, when she came on here, she disappeared. It's too bad. I'd like to talk to her again and get her opinion on it. Lehman Russ, yeah, Rush is dead. Rush Limbaugh has died officially. 70 years old. And he passed. He passed. So, there's that. What else is I going to cover today? Oh, I do have this. We could read a little bit of this lawsuit filed against Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers. I saw some other stuff too. Oh! Where is that thing? I thought this was funny. We could take a look at this. Going through that lawsuit might take a little time. I don't know if that's necessary to do. But we should go through this. It's gonna take a little time. A little time to read this lawsuit. Okay. Oh, and RazorFist. Yes, thank you for reminding me. Let's talk about this, and then we'll talk about RazorFist. Glow in the Dark 2. Yes, I just covered Josh Moon. You just missed it. How dare you be later and gayer to the stream than I am. But yes, Josh Moon was covered. There wasn't much to cover. Melinda Scott got BTFO'd on all of her stupid motions. And she has 14 days from the order to respond to the judge about why her suit should go on, and then he's going to dismiss it. That'll happen. Do I have a little bottle of booze with the number 3 on it? No. I mean, I have this little bottle of booze. This Apple Core Reserve. No, RazorFist didn't die. We'll look at RazorFist stuff in just a minute. RazorFist channel is back. His Twitter is back as well, and we'll talk about what happened. Espicuarius. I never remember how to pronounce your name, but that rumor is, of course, a rumor because Australia doesn't exist. So this is relating back to the impeachment stuff. Trump demoted defense lawyer during the impeachment trial report. Now, before we move on, which lawyer of Vanderveen, Castor, or Schoen do you guys think got demoted? 1 for Vanderveen, 2 for Castor, 3 for Schoen. Who got demoted by Trump? I'll wait. Okay, yeah. Most of you are getting it right. Bruce Castor. Bruce Castor got absolutely demoted, and it was great. It was great. No, it was not the poem lawyer. That was Schoen. Schoen actually did an okay job. The poem was bad. His opening was bad. But here's what Castor didn't do. Anything good at all that first day. He didn't do anything at all that first day. All right, so let's take a look at this. Former President Trump reportedly demoted one of his defense lawyers in the midst of his second impeachment trial due to the attorney's performance on the Senate floor last week. Ty and I talked about this. Castor probably got an epic ass chewing at the hands of Trump. Or at the teeth of Trump? Do teeth chew ass? I guess we got to ask Hunter Biden. The New York Times reports that one of Trump's advisors, Justin Clark, told Bruce Castor last Wednesday that the former president did not want the attorney to appear again on television during the trial. Don't you go on there. You don't get on that television. Don't you get in front of a camera, you disgusting maggot. You're terrible. Everything you said was bad. It was wrong. It was awful. If you get on that camera again, I'm going to have Stormy Daniels come in there and shove you all the way inside of her vagina until you suffocate and die. Okay? You'll go to the grave with so many other brave men inside Stormy Daniels. Listen, this is not a joke. This is not a test. This is not a ploy. I will ruin you. Castor then reportedly stood up while shouting and arguing that Trump was wrong in demoting him. No, he wasn't. He wasn't wrong at all. He was not. He was absolutely right. Castor was embarrassingly bad whenever he spoke. He was really bad the first time. He got okay the second time he spoke. He was terrible the first time. And he managed to cliffhanger like Stallone up to okay. No, not acceptable. Not acceptable. Schoen went from pretty good to really good. Michael Vanderveen was never anything less than brilliant. Castor went from terrible to okay. Not acceptable. So he was absolutely right to say that. Castor made a bad game day decision. Let's review the decisions of Bruce Castor. He was the lead attorney, apparently. And he's the one who decided that in response to the House manager's presentation, he would go up, they would change the order, they would change their game plan, he would scrap whatever he had planned, and he would wing it. And in the winging of it, he would praise Ben Sass, and then he would say that they should vote their conscience rather than voting on the law. And then he would go ahead to say, I mean, I can't believe this. He would say their presentation was so good that we needed to change our entire strategy. Those three things, in any other context, that lawyer should have been fired, not demoted. Not demoted. They should have been fired. It was terrible, terrible performance by Bruce Castor. I don't know if he had a bad day. I don't know if he was menstruating. I don't know what it was. He did not do well that day. He may be a great attorney in every other instance. That day, he was atrocious. Atrocious. According to the Times, the argument became so heated that Castor eventually left the conference room, although he later apologized to Clark. No, I believe that, I know this is from the New York Times or whatever. I fully believe that this happened. No reason to think. First of all, it was pretty obvious that Trump would be furious with that first day. The first day was an absolute disaster for his team, and much of that lies on the shoulders of Bruce Castor. Now, Castor wrote a competent brief. If he was the guy who wrote the brief, I think his name is the lead name on it. If he's the guy who came up with the skeleton of the brief argument and wrote it out, he did a very good job on that. And there are lawyers who are good at being in front of juries and making oral argument. And then there are lawyers who aren't. There are lawyers who are really good at writing briefs. And then there are lawyers who aren't. This is okay. This is why law firms employ teams of lawyers to help out with clients. If you can afford it, the work that you're going to get, sometimes the guy making your oral argument has only skimmed the brief because they're that good at it and they're that polished up on the issues in general that they need to know the basic fact pattern of what's going on and where those facts fit into the law. Because if they go and they argue construction accidents every single day, it's not going to be hard for them to adapt the argument to whatever mild fact pattern changes that they have. They're going to go in, they're going to talk about what's going on, and they're going to nail it, and then it's going to be gone. There are people who are good at oral argument and bad at brief writing. And there are people who are good at brief writing and bad at oral argument. It's fine. Bruce shouldn't be ashamed. He should be ashamed for his oral argument performance. He should be ashamed for defending it, but he shouldn't be ashamed that he's bad at it. Because he wrote a good brief. The thing about losing the first day, it let them absolutely destroy the Dems with those videos. They were going to lose the first day anyway, though. They were going to lose that first day anyway. I do think the videos that they created for the second day, technically it was the fourth day of trial when Trump's side got to go. I do think those videos were devastating. They were well produced. And of course, they had a couple extra days to make it. And it's important to remember they had 8 days to prepare for that first day. 8 days total. And in those 8 days, they wrote a great brief. They did not perform well in front of people. And they should have. The Times noted that half a dozen members of Trump's legal team relayed their accounts of the incident during a meeting in a conference room at the former president's hotel in Washington, D.C. Hills reached out to Trump's office for comment. Castor was added to Trump's defense team about a week before the trial was set to begin, after reportedly being recommended by his cousin, Stephen Castor, one of Trump's aides. The Pennsylvania attorney's hasty hiring occurred after reports came out that Butch Bowers, a South Carolina attorney who was set to lead Trump's defense team, left along with 4 other attorneys due to disagreements with Trump on how to approach the trial. Commenters and politicians on both sides of the aisle criticized Castor's hours-long defense of the former president last week. Anyone who listened to President Trump's legal team saw they were unfocused, they attempted to avoid the issue, and they talked about everything but the issue at hand, Senator Bill Cassidy, one of 7 GOP senators who voted to convict Trump, said after Castor's remarks. Look, but Bill Cassidy, I'm not going to disagree with what you said, but have you considered that you're a bitch? Bitch made. Complete bitch. We gotta remember that. Bill Cassidy is a total bitch. Castor shot back at the criticism, telling reporters only one person's opinion matters, and that's what I'm going by. Oh, his opinion mattered, all right. And his opinion BTFO'd you, Bruce Castor. You don't get a pass on this just because Bill Cassidy sucks. Imagine thinking you get let off the hook just because someone else is stupid. Someone sent me, by the way, one of Bill Cassidy's constituents complained to him, and they sent me the response from Bill Cassidy. And it is a whining, diatribatic rant. And it's prefabricated, so you know he's sending it to everybody. This guy is going to get primaried. This guy's going to get primaried to hell. And he can't be primaried hard enough. He should be primaried right up his rectum and to his dirty, cold, boy-loving heart. Well, that was a bit much. Look, when I channel the inner voice, what comes out is it's not on me. That's on the inner voice. That's something else. Read it out. I mean, I can. I suppose I can do that. It's a long one. Which is what he lies and tells all the girls. You have to remember that we had literally 1 week and 1 day to prepare the defense, and we were all people who never had met each other before, David Schoen, another member of Trump's legal team, said to the Times in a statement. So this is right. Yeah, this is good. It's true. They had never met. They have 1 week to do it. You know what, though? Castor and Schoen and Vanderveen did just fine with that week. Castor didn't. Schoen told the newspaper that he regretted not pushing back on Castor's agenda, as well as not informing Trump of Castor's prominent role in the trial. Yes. I admired his courage for jumping right in, Schoen told the Times. Unfortunately, he got panned by the media pretty soundly, and a number of people thought perhaps the agenda should be reconsidered. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. Schoen nails it. That's what happened. And that's what happened. Here, I'll pull up that. We'll pull up Cassidy's response. How's that? Do this. We got a little time. Gonna take a little time. There is one thing. I want to go back to one thing that Trump said before we depart. Don't let me forget. I think it's really, really important. Let's see. Where are we? Here we go. All right. I have to figure out how to do this while avoiding names. There we go. Is this even going to work? I'm going to copy the text of it into... This has the person's name and address on it. I don't want to do that. I'm going to copy the text of this into a document here. Just a second. That'll do much better. Again, I don't want anybody's name to be shown here. That's not what we're doing. This will help you understand the mind of Bill Cassidy, okay? And if you want to accuse me of like some sort of fraud of like just typing this up on the spot, you clearly have never seen. Look, I type pretty fast, but I'm not Ray Gordon levels of speed typing. So here we go. Oh, CD Random doesn't mind. Change the actual name off of it. Well, I'm still not going to do it. Here we go. Here is the, this is from Bill Cassidy, okay? Here's the text of his response. Look at this. Look at this thing. Why is he writing all of this? Look at how long this is. That's what she said. Thank you for writing in with your comments regarding the second impeachment trial of former President Trump. This is an important topic, and I appreciate hearing from you. The articles of impeachment charged President Donald Trump with inciting an insurrection. He chose not to testify, and so guilt or innocence must be inferred by the timeline of events, tweets, and his actions during the invasion of the U.S. Capitol. That's not how that works. That's not how that works, by the way. Guilt or innocence must not be inferred by the timeline of events, tweets, and his actions. Guilt or innocence must be inferred from the facts, the actual facts as applied to the law. That is how guilt or innocence works. Facts applied to law. Nothing more, nothing less. Here are the facts. After Joe Biden won, President Trump and his aides spread lies of widespread voter fraud. Many still believe Smartmatic and Dominion voting machines were fraudulent. Even though news outlets, including Fox News and Newsmax, retracted those stories, they were literally threatened to be sued for billions of dollars. Way easier to retract the stories. You can't harp on them for that. When a federal judge asked Rudy Giuliani if the Trump campaign was alleging fraud, he replied, "No, Your Honor, we are not." Again, whatever they believed about fraud, bringing fraud into the court case in Pennsylvania, that case wasn't about fraud. It didn't need to be about fraud. It was about the illegal changing of rules in Pennsylvania. That's what the case was about. It wasn't a fraud case. It shouldn't have been a fraud case. They would have brought a fraud case there. They would have gotten the same treatment anyway. And they didn't have the evidence for it. They didn't need it in Pennsylvania. So this again is silly. In multiple court filings by the Trump campaign, 86 judges, including Trump appointees, there were not filings in over 60 courts by the Trump campaign, by the way. So he's wrong on the facts here. Bill Cassidy is wrong on the facts here. The Trump campaign only filed something like 5 or 6 lawsuits. The other 54 were filed by other people, including Trump appointees, ruled against their complaints. But outside of courtrooms, they trumpeted, "Stop the steal." That's because sometimes the legal remedy is different from the actual issue. If they achieve the same purpose, pursuing the proper legal remedy might be better than pursuing the actual issue. Because if you plead fraud, you're held to a heightened initial pleading standard. And if they don't have admissible evidence to support fraud at the time they're pleading it, it doesn't behoove them to plead fraud. But there are other avenues to remedy. And one was Pennsylvania's voting system was illegal. And I will say this with confidence. The way they conducted the vote in Pennsylvania was anathema to the Pennsylvania Constitution. And I really hope if there's one case that gets heard by the Supreme Court, by the way, Friday is the day that they will decide. If there's one of those cases that gets heard, it's Kelly versus Pennsylvania, which addresses the constitutionality of the vote in Pennsylvania. Because I believe, based on the arguments that I've seen so far, that it was unconstitutional. Based on the arguments and reading the Pennsylvania Constitution. And that is a real issue. And that's not a fraud issue at all. It's not a fraud issue. It's an issue of whether or not they properly pass laws to go ahead and modify the ability to vote by mail. I don't think they did properly. Let's see. President Trump repeatedly accused Republican-led state legislatures, Republican governors, and secretaries of state in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Arizona of tolerating fraud while they attested to the validity of their election results. Okay. Again, if he believes there was fraud, them being Republican doesn't mitigate their tolerance of said fraud. If he believes it, he can say it. He might be wrong, but is that a lie? It's only a lie if he doesn't believe it's true. I think Trump fully believes everything he said about the election. I don't know where we get stuck up on this big lie propaganda that this guy was buying into. The overt Nazi symbolism of big lie, by the way, that was borrowed by the House managers when they went ahead and just borrowed from Hitler. Think about that, by the way. To make their argument, they borrowed from Hitler and Goebbels. Unironically, they chose that. They're like, you know what? We can go with a lot of narratives here, but the one we're going to choose is Hitler and Goebbels. That's what Jamie Raskin chose to do. Good job. Well done, you idiots. But despite the fact of them calling it a big lie over and over and over, I genuinely don't think that Trump believes the opposite of what he said, which means he wasn't lying. He may be wrong, but he wasn't lying. When all this failed to overturn the election, we are brought to January 6th. A pro-Trump rally originally scheduled for January 22nd, a date after the presidential swearing-in. Inauguration! You're supposed to be running this country. It's just the inauguration. It has an official word. Saying the presidential swearing-in sounds ignorant. Was moved to the morning of January 6th, when Congress was to certify the election. By the way, other people planned this rally. President Trump encouraged supporters to come to D.C. with tweets and advertisements to stop the steal. Yes, this is fine. This is legal. This is constitutionally protected speech. When he spoke on that day, he said to fight like hell and peacefully and patriotically walk to the Capitol. Yes? Yeah? As he finished, the Proud Boys were already attempting to break through police barriers. Yes? You're making the case against impeachment right now, against the idea that he incited it. As he finished, they were already doing it, a mile and a half away. As the crowd moved to the Capitol, a portion of it became a mob. They never established this fact. Ever. They never established the fact that the crowd from the White House was the same crowd that mobbed the Capitol. They didn't do it. They didn't even try. All they had to do was find one person who was at the White House for the speech and then moved to the Capitol and went inside, and they couldn't do that. There's probably someone out there who did. Probably, but they didn't. Linda Marie says, my dad got emotional this morning. Rush was like part of our family because he was a constant when we moved to each Army base. Ever since I was born in 92, Rush has always been on in the car. Rush's sign-off music was in a 9/11 tribute to Rip Rush. Again, R.I.P. to Rush Limbaugh. Notice what he does here. He says it became a mob. The mob overwhelmed the police and broke windows and doors to enter the Capitol. Again, these are facts, not an evidence. Once inside, rioters fought with the Capitol Police, destroyed property, and hunted for representatives, senators, and the vice president with an intent to harm. This was actually walked back by the DOJ. They have no direct evidence of this at all. At all. None. Cassidy, again, is wrong on the facts. He's voting on the wrong facts. He's voting based on his ovaries. To review, we know there was a calculated campaign to lie about the election. Numerous lawsuits advertised as alleging fraud, pressure on state officials, a rally in Washington during the certification process, and direction from President Trump to march toward the Capitol, where the mob broke in. You don't have Trump ever inciting it, though. His rhetoric and actions were clearly intended to prevent a peaceful transfer of power. How? The peaceful transfer of power would occur 14 days later without incident. Even as Vice President Mike Pence was being evacuated to a safe location by Secret Service agents because the mob was approaching the Senate chamber, President Trump was calling senators trying to block certification. A president upholding his oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution would have activated the National Guard and told rioters to go home at the first opportunity. He activated the National Guard 3 days prior, and he told rioters to go home, an hour and 20 minutes after his speech was finished, at the longest. President Trump did not. He waited 2 hours to ask rioters in the Capitol to leave. It is also unclear whether he was involved in the decision to activate the National Guard. It's unclear, but if he was, the decision was delayed. No, he did it days earlier. It's not unclear. He said, do whatever you want. The Capitol Police rejected the call for aid to the National Guard. They were given the opportunity. Hey, looks like you guys don't have enough officers. We want to bolster your line with National Guardsmen. No, we don't want that. That was their choice. Rather than defending the Constitution, President Trump was actively subverting the peaceful transfer of power. Again, a riot on the 6th doesn't prevent the peaceful transfer of power on the 20th in any way, which is a bedrock principle of the Constitution. It's actually not. I mean, I don't mean to point this out. The peaceful transfer of power isn't in the Constitution. There's nothing about the transfer of power being peaceful. And in fact, since they draw the peaceful transfer of power from the eulogy of George Washington, it's pretty hard to argue that the Constitution, which was written before Washington died, obviously actually contemplated a peaceful transition of power in the way that George Washington espoused before he died. Think about this. No one expected George Washington to serve 2 terms. They expected him to serve a lifetime appointment as king, with another king being elected when he died. That's what they expected. They expected him to get reelected every 4 years. There's plenty of evidence to suggest that he would. They didn't expect him to stop running and to suggest that 8 years was a proper term for a president. All of that came later. None of this is in the Constitution. It was amended in after Washington died. This is crazy town. I voted to convict former President Trump because he is guilty. That's what the facts demand. I have no illusions that this is a popular decision. I made this decision because Americans should not be fed lies about massive election fraud. Police should not be left to the mercy of a mob. Mobs should not be inflamed to disrupt the peaceful transfer of power. I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, and I take that oath seriously. This was, is, and will remain my commitment to you. We must now move on from this ugly chapter in our history. It is time to come together to focus on COVID-19 recovery, create jobs, and make a better life for everyone in Louisiana. It is an honor and privilege to represent the 4.6 million people of this state. It was more before Katrina. I will continue to do so to the best of my ability, regardless of your party, faith, or individual views. I will continue to represent the views of my state and do so through hearing from constituents like you. Please continue to reach out, either by phone or by email, When you have another question or concern, you can reach my office in Washington, D.C. at 202-224-5824 or submit an email at cassidy.senate.gov/contact. There you go. There you go. That's Bill Cassidy. That's Bill Cassidy's words to a voter who expressed discontent at his vote to impeach Donald Trump. And you should see why. I mean, you can see why right there. His vote to impeach doesn't rely on the actual facts of the day, and it doesn't in any way. Notice what he doesn't mention at all, the law around incitement. Not a single place does he mention the law of incitement and how those facts actually mesh with the law. Because they don't. Because they don't. Okay, there's one more thing to cover, and that is RazorFist. Let's see. Let's see. Here we go. RazorFist is apparently Coomer Fist. Let's see. Where were these? I want to pull up the tweets that were made from his account. Did Ralph have one? Let's see. Okay. So here we go. This is one of the tweets before RazorFist Twitter was taken down. Can you guys see that? I think I don't have it. So this is a tweet from RazorFist right before his account was taken down. It says, "I'm Razor and I'm a complete piece of shit. I jerk off to porn while my innocent girlfriend sleeps in the next room, despite criticizing everyone who watches porn online. I can't keep promises I willingly made her, and I belittle her intelligence when she catches me in lies." Now, before you judge Razor on that, let me go ahead and pull up actual RazorFist commentary on it. At first, it appeared that this was a girlfriend, a jilted girlfriend, like, hacking his accounts or whatever. And he was, let's see. Where was I going with this? Oh, yeah, his, here we go. At first, I thought it was a jilted girlfriend going after Razor, but he has commented on that and says that it wasn't actually his girlfriend. So here's his explanation here. "Always enable two-factor authentication, people. No, it was not Eve. Just a good old-fashioned phishing job. I don't like talking about my private life, even when it happens to be true. So you can imagine how much I love talking about it when it happens to be bullshit." So, here you go. It was not hacked by his girlfriend. It was apparently hacked by someone else. So, there you go. That's it. RazorFist, however, is back on Twitter. He is back on YouTube. His channel on YouTube was temporarily deleted. It is back in action. He should show the IP login info if he wants people to believe that. Why should he do that? That's crazy town. He shouldn't do that at all. Here, let's read these. Did you hack RazorFist's account and close all this shit, Limbaugh? No, I don't have his passwords. And then shows a link. What the fuck? Lol. Obviously, this is Eve. So this must be from his girlfriend right here. I thought it was you, kind of confused, Limbaugh. Nah, Razor wouldn't say something like that to me. That's fucking pathetic. The hell's going on? I don't know. However, I don't have a Twitter, so if this shit's still up, can you tell these people that's BS? And then he says, okay, I got you. I stay simping for you, even though you're a ghost on RW Twitter. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate you. Also, thanks for letting me know in the first place. What a queen, no problem. Razor, look out for this guy. Look out for hospice. My man's trying to move in on your lady. Open simping for your woman. Razor, what are you doing? So anyway, but he's back. He's back. So, I did want to talk about this. When I thought it was his girlfriend, I thought it would be interesting to talk about the legal ramification of something like this. This actually could be, if you're thinking about this, by the way, if you are dating a YouTuber, or some other content creator who makes money off of their content, and you think it would be a good idea because they, did something you didn't like or whatever, and you're going to break up with them, and you think it's a good idea to go ahead and delete their channel, delete their Twitter, you are at that point probably engaged in something called criminal conversion, which is like theft, but without the taking it for yourself sort of deal. Criminal conversion is the idea of not so much taking something for yourself, but depriving someone else of their right to a piece of property, to a property interest. And shockingly, YouTubers do have a property interest in their YouTube channel, especially if they make money from it. So I would strongly suggest that is not something you want to do. You're also, of course, civilly liable for any damage that would come from that. And that is pretty quantifiable. Pretty quantifiable to find out what those damages could be. It's not a good course of action. If you were an ex-girlfriend doing it, there would be civil and criminal, potentially civil and criminal penalties. Of course, for the hacker, there are as well, but the way hacking works, they tend to be rather insulated against this type of stuff, because if you're sophisticated enough to pull off a hack, you're sophisticated enough, generally speaking, to do it using a VPN and some sort of shield to protect your own identity. I didn't want to circle back to Trump. I wanted to circle back to Rush. Am I warning Lady Rackets? That's right, Lady Rackets. Don't you even think about deleting my channel, no matter how many times I say no to whatever you want to buy. We don't need any more homeschool curriculum. Stop buying them. Mr. Timmer, why is my nose so big? They give you a bigger nose when you graduate from law school. Automatically. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to go back to one thing Rush has said, and that'll be my final thing for tonight. And then we'll do super chats, and then we'll do super chats, and then we'll wrap up. Oh, Bad Vibes also sent, okay, get the likes, 2K. Get the likes to 2,000. Nick is thirsty. I don't think that's going to happen tonight. And he also says, Caster, may the birds of paradise fly up your nose. May an elephant tap dance on your toes. Dang. Let me find it real quick. I don't have a Control F because this is a physical book. I'm skimming. Oh, here we go. Where was it? Mm-hmm. Again, this is at Top Shelf Entertainment. You guys pay for. Let's see. Here it is. I found it. Sorry. This is I think the key important message. Remember, 1992, Bill Clinton takes office. The Democrats have majorities in the House and the Senate, and the Republican Party is in absolute shambles. Okay? Very, very important. And Rush says this: "For, as I have told you, you must have the courage to believe the truth, and always be of good cheer, and remember how to smile. This will always distinguish you from your liberal friends. Pour yourselves a Snapple, prop your feet up, and enjoy." And that is the truth. That is what we're missing today that they had in 1993. Smile. Be of good cheer. Don't let the situation get you down. Don't let the black pills get you down. Smile and be of good cheer. All is not lost. It's just an election. And if you do that, the miserable people on the other side will marvel. How can you possibly smile during a loss? Because we know that in the end we'll win. That's what it is. Smile and be of good cheer. And again, I say that in honor to Rush Limbaugh. And I think that is the message that he always exhibited. Whenever he was down, he was always up. He always professed a message of positivity. Even in the light of Democratic, horrifying policy. It was always positivity about the resilience of the American people and the fact that the damage that they do could be undone. And it still can. So one more time, R.I.P. to Rush Limbaugh. As Sean Hannity would say, a great American, but Sean Hannity's kind of a tool. Peace to you, brother. May you wait for Elton John to die and go to heaven with you. Although, maybe he'll go to hell. All right. Bad Vibe says, so they gave you a big nose because you aren't a Jew, but want clients to think you might be Jewish? Yes. Yes, that's true. That's true. Okay. Let's go ahead and do these super chats. And I guess we've got a Twitch movie tonight. Oh God, I'm so tired. Probably just one movie on Twitch tonight. We'll figure it out. Crusader Saracen says, love him or hate him. Rush was a man who had the courage to say what he believed and told anybody else to go fuck themselves, inspiring countless who came after him. May we all aspire to be more like him, and may he be welcomed into the kingdom of God. Kermit the Frog says, I am death, boy. Who is this motherfucker? RUF? Only on the road? Rough. Shoots gun. Okay. Party of Love and Progress says, ha ha ha, fuck you, Rush Limbaugh. I'm glad you're dead. Rest in piss. Ha ha ha, fuck you, conservatives. I hope the rest of you are soon to follow when we put you in AOC's re-education camps. Sips wine. I'm so peaceful and loving. Why can't we just have unity? Yes. Adrian Valladares says, hey, Nick, after you and Drex piqued my curiosity, I checked out Redo of Healer. I was not ready to see what the main character went through. Anyway, in Trump voice, can you talk about Redo of Healer? The words tremendous and beautiful must be used. Listen. The protagonist in Redo of Healer is a beautiful, wonderful person. Tremendous, really. He has vision. He has motivation. And at the core of everything, he has a heart of gold. Maybe he makes mistakes. Maybe he goes about things a little bit different than some of us would. A little bit. That's okay. That's okay. What we've got really at the end of the day is a story about not revenge, but of triumph. And triumph is something we can all identify with. Who doesn't want to win? Who doesn't want to triumph? I win all the time. I win most of the time. Many of the times I've tried, I've won. Redo of Healer, he's the same way. This guy overcomes adversity. Lots to admire in the healer, the hero of healing. There you go. I hope that's what you were looking for. Bad Vibe says, the meek shall inherit the earth, not the weak. You can fight, be smart, speak softly, but bludgeon them with the truth. Tom King says, put this towards your next bottle of Kentucky Owl. This ought to buy 10% of a bottle, right? Well, we've got this nice Kentucky Owl bourbon. And you can go ahead and, I think you can make out the price tag there. You can do it. Kentucky Owl bourbon. Yeah. So not quite 10%, something like 7 or 8. Mario Carter 13 says, most politicians are lawyers before they get elected. With this, we can infer that ignorance of the legal system is not an excuse. They're just full of shit. Imagine inventing your own legal standard and failing to get a conviction in a show trial twice. Yep. Silky Johnson says, I always thought most politicians were somewhat competent. Oh, no. But thanks to you and Trump, holy shit, what a mindfuck. These crying bitches are our leaders? I've never seen such a concentration of AIDS-filled soy. It's like the mood slime in Ghostbusters 2. Yes. Yes, it is. Oh, by the way, speaking of that, the guy, Mike from Red Bear Radio, Mike did reach out to me, left a YouTube comment. He apologized, which I do not endorse. I do not suggest that anyone apologize, but it is appreciated. It is appreciated. No apology was necessary, by the way. But he did sincerely apologize. He just lumped everybody in with Chrissy Mayer, who he does not like. And he commented that he apologized for doing that automatically and said I could reach out and talk if I wanted to. I probably will reach out to him because I think it might be an interesting conversation just in general from someone of a little bit of a different perspective. But yeah, I said I appreciate the apology. It's the internet. I don't care. It gave me something to laugh at, so it was fine by me. Like, I don't take this stuff personally. I really don't. I think it's funny, but it doesn't harm me, right? Like, people can make fun of me all day. They do. They do make fun of me all day, and that's okay. It doesn't harm me in any way. Don't mess with my livelihood. Don't mess with my family. And I have a hard time hating you, even if you hate me. I don't care. It's fine. But that being said, I'll probably reach out to Mike. Might be an interesting conversation. Whatever his beef is with Chrissy is his beef. I don't care. My interpretation of Chrissy, I think she's hilarious. I liked having the stream with her. I thought it was fun. I don't know what his history is with her. So whatever that is, that's between him and her. But I've long had a policy that I will not restrict myself based on other people's drama. They're other people's interpersonal drama. That's between them, and my discussion with anyone has nothing to do with their personal drama with someone else. So if they have personal drama with me, that's a different story. That's fine. But if you're going to have some drama with someone else, that's not going to prevent you from coming on my show or me going on your show and talking to you. I don't care about that. And I think we really, really need to get around that. The dude will try to trap me. He has a history of that crap. Okay. Trap me into what? I don't know what he'd trap me into. Maybe that'd be interesting. Bad Vibes says, you were late. No $20 super chats for you. Thanks, Bad Vibes. Much appreciated. Andrew War Snowboard says, HBD, Michael Jordan, and Jim Brown today. Oh, happy birthday. So Michael Jordan and Jim Brown today, 58 and 85. Say it loud. I'm old and I'm proud. Serial Foxy says, don't focus on their blowhole or how much plankton they can consume. CJ says, I think Rush's voice can be a little whiny. Maybe not in Tom Sawyer, but definitely in Temples of Syrinx and later ballads. Come on. That's not the same Rush. Matthew Spriggs says, everyone is stomping on Rush's grave over a segment he did in bad taste concerning AIDS and profusely apologized for in 1980, repaying hate, or in 1990, repaying hate with more. Don't apologize. Don't apologize. Let's see. Stephen F. says, Nick, what's your position on legalizing honor duels? Seems less people compelled to lie and slander if societal consequences attaches for doing so. No, I genuinely believe that mutual combat is preferable. Is a preferable solution. If people want to engage in mutual combat, they should be allowed to do so long as their combat is not disruptive to the immediate community. So, like, you shouldn't engage in an honor duel in the middle of a bar, for example. Doesn't make sense, right? You could harm someone else. You could damage the bar's property. But if you guys decide to go to a park and have an honor duel in some safety. Now, if you're going to use guns or something, it's got to be in the middle of nowhere where there's, mitigated risk to surrounding people. And if you do happen to harm someone ancillary to the duel, you might be liable for it. You shouldn't do that. So in general, like, go out to the woods or whatever and have your little silly gun duel out there. Go ahead and do it. No, but I do believe that people should be able to mutually contract to engage in physical conflict. I don't see why we don't do that. That's up to them, right? That's up to them. Heinrich Berndowski says, Dragon's Treasure Tea is hilariously overpriced by weight in comparison to creme de la creme like Fortnum and Mason, which is nearly twice as cheap. That's fine. You don't have to buy Dragon's Treasure. However, by buying Dragon's Treasure Tea, you are supporting a local business that you can talk to and interact with. And to me, that value is way more than some other company that I don't know. So, that may be true. I don't know anything about other tea companies. And in fact, I don't want to know anything about other tea companies. Personally, you guys should and can always do research on products, but it doesn't matter to me. Hipster Werewolf says, if you could have one of the Forge World Primarch miniatures, which one would it be? Vulcan. Vulcan's my dude. I think he's awesome. Aurelianus says, well wishes to the boomers out there. My dad is taking the Rush thing hard. Was a fan for 2 decades plus. Good things to you and yours. Hey, Aurelianus, tell him there's a great substitute. 3 hours a day that he can listen to. I kid, of course. I don't I would love to boast the ability to fill those shoes, but there's no way. You can't. No one can fill the shoes of Rush. He is truly, truly a lost artifact. Scarfy the Strange says, there is a place where people wrestle alligators and throw bent pieces of wood. It's called Florida. Yes. So we don't need to manufacture a separate fake one. Sentinel Rex says, the bird is the word in Australia, apparently. Yep. BK says, Australian here, can confirm, don't exist, or at least I wish I didn't, Limbaugh. I hope you're doing well, though, Rackets. Look, BK, there's always the opportunity to leave the government employment and move into the private sector. It's fine. The private sector will welcome you. CJ says, Oi, I'm Rick Nikata, owner of a small propaganda firm in an outback whoop Australia. I'm a two-pot screamer bashing the police. Okay. Alex Blackfoot says, is it weird that I want to see what happens if you were to pit one of the Amazons against Melinda? I mean, she'd be eviscerated. Layman Russ says, wait, Rush died? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And Layman Russ also says in Kermit voice, welcome to the EIB network. Vienticus Prime says, look up HR 484. It's 4 pages of fun. Not tonight. Not tonight. Blaine 20 says, civil suits against Kyle dismissed. Yeah, I talked about this a while back. I can't wait for Kyle Rittenhouse's criminal suits to be dismissed. Scarvy the Strange says, my money is on a jilted ex-boyfriend of Eve. Could be. Could be. Dean Domino 25 says, will you cover Crippled Jesus' lawsuit? Yeah, so Crippled Jesus, I heard he got sued, and then I heard that the suit hadn't actually been filed, and now I'm hearing that there's a lawsuit again. So once I figure out what the hell's going on, yeah, I'm happy to cover it. Happy to cover it. I think it'd be great material. And I'm happy to bring Crippled Jesus on. If he's actually sued, I'm happy to have him come on the show and talk about this lawsuit if he wants to do that. Ryan79 says, put this towards your next Wild Turkey bottle. Will do. Thank you. 200 Watt Studio says in Lemoyne voice, size matters not. Judge me by my size, do you? As well you should not, for my ally is the tongue. But you didn't say, but not the lung. And then CJ says, I agree. No one can fill those shoes. Neil Peart was the greatest drummer ever. Stop it. Stop it, CJ. And then finally, Eddie says, lol, Chad expects us to believe a country that lost a prime minister during a swim is real. Everything about Australia is embarrassing. It has to be fake. Can you imagine what happens? You're like, oh, I'm going to get on this plane and go to Australia. They're like, okay, first you have to fly to LA. And then they get you over the ocean and they fly you in a circle for like 15 hours. And they're like, look, it's just really far. As if anywhere is 15 hours from anything by plane. And they fly you around in a circle for 15 hours. And they just land you in the desert nonsense of Southern California. And they're like, look, this is Australia. Deal with it. That's not real. That's not a real place. Why would anybody believe this lie anymore? We've got to stop. We've got to stop. Okay. There we go, guys. That's the show. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining and always making the show fun to do. I was really, really tired when I started the show tonight. And I didn't know if I would be able to make it. You guys always make it something enjoyable and worthwhile to do. And you always bring a lot of fun stuff that I would have never talked about in the chat. So thank you to that. We're gonna go over to Twitch. We'll do one movie tonight, and then I need some sleep because tomorrow might be a 9 a.m. day for me. Diamond Duck 98. Yes, Kendra. I know. I just referred someone to Kendra today, so Listen. Okay. Ask Bakamatai if Australia is fake. She knows it is. Australia is fake. The Jack Daniels is the best whiskey in the world. I mean, those two things are mutually exclusive. I'll make you a boomerang. Seriously, going to send it to your P.O. box once it's done? I mean, if you want to, I have a boomerang allegedly from Australia. I know it was probably made in North Carolina or something ridiculous. HR 484 is funny. I'll probably cover it tomorrow. I just don't want to do it tonight. I missed your first Justice chat? I don't think so. The politicians are lawyers ones? Is there another one? Because is Justice chat doing me wrong now? Let me see if I can pull up Streamlabs. Are you going to make me go through this process? Okay, there we go. Let me get the... Where is it? Where is it? Did they move everything? Donation history. Here we go. Oh, I did. I missed a couple that came in. Here we go. Mario Carter 13 says, every morning I get up, look at Jill, and say, where the hell are we? Actual Joe Biden quote. No, it's not. No, that's not real, is it? And then Crusader Saracen says, love him or hate him, Russia's a man who... Oh, wait, no, I read that one. I did read that one. Very good. Now it's showing up. Why didn't it show before? God, I hate Streamlabs sometimes. Okay, we've got it. There we go. Sorry for missing it. Streamlabs was not showing it to me. Okay, guys. Well. Oh, yeah. Joe did a town hall meeting today, didn't he? I should probably stream the town hall meetings, right? Like live stream them. God, that'd be fun. I got to figure out how to find out when he has those scheduled. Because those are great. That's great stuff to cover. Okay, guys. Thanks for hanging out tonight. Come over to Twitch. I'm going to play the outro. I'll see you in just a few minutes. We'll see you there. Have a good night, guys. Peace. Peace.
Oh, he drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some lost-plaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes meta, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an Ardbeg, a Balmore, a Lafroig. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear lost-plaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we are now. Oh, the guests are all planet folks from Doug T to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us since who'd get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea, post on Twitter as we hear Lost Planning tonight. From the wide shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet,